It's showtime.
It's amazing to see, fans obviously out there. It's a home field advantage for us.
You are now tuned into Homefield Advantage with your hosts Justice General Radford and the caveman Michael Lisman. Enjoy.
What is going on, Bills Mafia? Welcome to Homefield Advantage. It is your favorite hump day show. I am Justice General Radford. I have my brother Football with me today. Well, you can see we got some new accessories and toys we working with.
Yeah, we're trying out some new tricks tonight. It's the off season. What better time than to try out some stupid shit? I'll take this off in a couple minutes, but I thought it was funny.
Absolutely. Well, how are you doing today, bro? What's going on with you, man?
Not too much, man. I'm looking forward to talking some off season tonight. It's going to be a good time. We actually were given some news for the first time in what feels like ages that we get to actually have some conversation about. So I'm looking forward to going back and forth about that. But yeah, I fully expect us to be full throttle tonight. It's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And as he says, as we say all the time, we love the Buffalo Bills here on this show. However, this is not only a Buffalo Bills show. This is more of like an NFL overall experience, So we're going to be, talking about obviously big news in the NFL. Shout out to Coach Boom. The football needs a bandana. It sure does.
I'm trying. I went to take it off and it booted me out of the stream, so I think I might be stuck.
We got football caveman for a whole episode. All right.
Oh, no.
All right, cool. So today, obviously, there was big news out of Carolina.
Yep.
Cleveland. More so Carolina, I guess. Baker Mayfield, the former number 1 overall pick, the guy touted to be better than Josh Allen and every other player in that draft class, Baker Mayfield was traded to the Carolina Panthers for a conditional 5th-round pick. Okay, so
oh, jeez.
This player that they crafted their entire franchise around is now going to be, just on another team in another conference, and all you get back for it is a 5th-round pick. So what'd you think about this when you first heard this game?
Well, I wasn't surprised by the move. We all knew Baker Mayfield, A, was not going to go back to Cleveland, and B, would soon be traded. So it was just a matter of time until Baker Mayfield got traded. We just didn't know quite when or where, this whole transaction was going to transpire. But it was a little shocking that it ended up being Carolina, at least to me. I thought Seattle would be the caper to come in and swoop Baker Mayfield out of Cleveland's grasp, but he ends up in Carolina, right? And I was, thinking to myself, the same thought that you kind of had cross your mind. Baker Mayfield just 4 years ago now, was a first overall pick, former Heisman Trophy winner. And just 4 years later, not even four full years later, he's getting traded away for a conditional 5th, which could become a 4th. It's crazy how fast things can change and how quick narratives flip. Just because of one singular season, if we're being honest. Baker Mayfield had one down year, and now all of a sudden he's, being treated like a bottom 40 quarterback. He's not even top 32. And in all reality, I think the argument is that he is.
Okay, so one big question I have is, what do you think this means for the Cleveland Browns? Obviously, Deshaun Watson is looking to be suspended for an extremely long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Upwards of a year are possible. And the Cleveland Browns currently don't have a starter level, quality quarterback. right? So you trade away Baker, who is a starter level quality quarterback, instead of, kind of swallowing your pride and maybe doing what you can to keep him. You trade him away at a very extreme loss. What do you think this means for the Cleveland franchise as a whole?
I mean, this whole situation has been a massive indictment on the morality inside of the Cleveland Browns front office. Ever since they severed the relationship with Baker Mayfield by saying he's a child and they're looking for an adult at quarterback, and then they were going back and forth with Baker and his camp. And then, suddenly out of nowhere, Deshaun Watson was on the block. And after Deshaun Watson had ruled out the Browns, he ends up getting traded there, and he's paid $230 million. And we figured out why he ended up waiving his no trade clause to Cleveland because of that massive payday. So Cleveland not only, went above and beyond to make the trade for him, but they overpaid a guy that they didn't even know was going to, play football, and pay a guy that didn't even want to come to their football team. So they were coming across as desperate as possible, made this move, and now are in the public eye of scrutiny. And nobody really wants to root for the Browns. Nobody wants to root for Deshaun Watson, and rightfully so. I mean, they made a move that is going to be frowned upon for years and years to come, and I think they're soon going to be dealing with the repercussions of that, not only through media, but through the on-field results, because who knows how long Deshaun Watson's going to get. And Jacoby Brissett is a guy that could win you 4 to 6, maybe 7 games if your run game is that good throughout the season and your defense is holding up your offense. But you're going to need more than that. And, one of my theories was that maybe a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded to the Browns at some point if they really realize Deshaun Watson is going to be out for a decent bit of time. Jimmy G's on the block. He's a guy that's been proven to get teams pretty far with substantial help around him, and that's what the Browns have surrounding their quarterback position. So, if anything, I think Jimmy G might be an option for him, but they might be riding with Jacoby. Long-winded answer.
No, I mean, that's what we're here for. We're all here to hear caveman talk. So, go ahead, bro. No, but seriously, I mean, well, that was serious. Obviously, it's your show, so we're here to, you know what I mean. But anyway, you look at the situation with the Browns. So, and I'm flabbergasted at the way that they've handled this situation. It's just like, you have this number 1 overall quarterback. After his rookie season, you're like, oh, this kid is the best thing since Jello, or whatever they say now, right? And then, his second season is a good season. It's decent, right? Not bad. People think Sam Darnold is better, whatever, but it's actually Lamar Jackson was the guy the second season, the MVP. It was Lamar Jackson. Yep. But Baker Mayfield was still considered, one of those guys, like an up and coming, right? It was Josh Allen who was the guy who had to prove himself still. So then obviously going into that third season where you have guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, separating themselves from the pack. Baker Mayfield had a good year, not a great year, decent year, nothing special, right? Obviously, especially not compared to guys like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, and considering he had a all-star crew around him in his third year, it's very odd how, he wasn't able. I mean, if he's supposedly supposed to be better than, all these other quarterbacks, you kind of wondered why he wasn't able to, put up the numbers with that receiving core that he had, or the talent level that he had just in the team overall, because it was more than just the receiving core. It was the offensive line, it was the run game, it was the defense, it was the receivers, it was the tight end. Like he had it all, he had it all. So as we say goodbye to football, like
No, a little distracting.
No, it's definitely getting clipped, so it's okay. We'll live forever. The Browns really, and then his fourth year obviously played through an injury. Do I think Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback? No, absolutely not. Like, not even close, right? Do I think he deserves better than what Cleveland gave him? Yes. Do I think he should have handled the situation better? Yes. I think it was just a dumpster fire all the way around, from the Houston Texans, from them being complicit with, all of his alleged, crimes, or them allegedly being, complicit with all of his crimes, and, then, trading him away. I mean, Houston comes out of here looking like mad geniuses. You get all of that draft capital. You get this toxic, super expensive liability off of your cap sheet, and you get multiple high level draft picks in back for him. And if you're Houston, this is the best case scenario for you, because now Cleveland don't have Deshaun Watson, they don't have Baker Mayfield, they might be garbage this year. And so now you're getting even better picks if you're, the Houston Texans. So this might work out for them most of all, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But what do you think about it from the Carolina Panthers perspective?
Yeah, so this is another wrinkle in the fold of the Carolina Panthers quarterback room, right? They, have gone through some quarterback troubles over the last couple of years now. Last season was a complete carousel of quarterbacks. They cycled through guys like Sam Darnold, PJ Walker, Cam Newton was in the fold at one point as well. They really couldn't put their thumb on the guy they really wanted to have under center. And then they go into this offseason, and they draft Matt Corral, I believe in the second, or I think it was the third round. And that's another quarterback that they're looking to potentially give a chance. And now they're out here in the offseason trading for Baker Mayfield. Obviously, you don't go and trade for a guy like Baker Mayfield without, having the intention of starting him come week one. So I 100% fully expect him to be there. It's just interesting what their plan of attack is. I kind of have a feeling that they've had their eye on Baker Mayfield for a pretty decent chunk of time. I guess it's hard to say whether or not they started to target him before or after the draft. You'd like to think after the draft, considering they drafted Matt Corral, but who knows? Baker Mayfield's young enough to be a guy that he could be a long-term answer, right? He's only been in the NFL for since 2018 when he was drafted. So, you're not drafting a guy like Matt Corral and using Baker Mayfield as a bridge option, at least in my opinion. So this definitely moves the needle for them forward. But by how much, I guess, is the question, because you go from a 4 to 5 win team to a 6 to 7 win team. That's good, right? It steps in the right direction, but how much is that going to help you in the long run? So we'll see how Baker Mayfield's able to handle the new colors.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see what he looks like in the change of scenery. And not only that, but this is really like maybe the first time him joining a squad where he's not like, well, actually, that's not true. I'm thinking of like this underdog mentality. And I guess that was kind of his whole thing, going into college. But, after being at Oklahoma and doing what he did at Oklahoma, because he was a beast at Oklahoma, I'm not here to take anything away from Baker Mayfield. Like, I wanted to draft Baker Mayfield in 2018, so I'm not here to like diss the man or anything. All of my assessments come based off of seeing what I've seen from him as a pro. As a college player, he was phenomenal, and I absolutely thought that he was going to be a special quarterback. But that hasn't really been the case so far. So, it's nothing personal against Baker Mayfield or anything like that. So what I wanted to ask you, K-Man, is I want you to re-rank the 2018 quarterback draft class, right? But what you have to do, you have to rank it by their potential going forward. Okay. So, you got your Mason Rudolphs in there. You've got your Sam Darnolds and your Josh Rosens and your Baker Mayfields, so obviously Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen as well. But I'm thinking, people in the comments section as well. First of all, slap the like button because, that helps us and whatnot. Also, if you guys have answers for this, go ahead and give us your answers as well. But re-rank those quarterback based on potential, who could have the best career going forward.
Oh, man. Obviously Josh Allen's going to be number one, right? That's the obvious answer. Man, as far as, Lamar's got to be 2, of course, right? Oh, man. that's where the drop off is just absolutely tremendous. The drop off is remarkable, actually. I mean, it's got to be Baker, right? It's got to be Baker 3. I'm trying to remember. I know the guys that were in the first round. Outside of the first round, I'm gonna have a hard time remembering.
Kellen Mond was one. Think.
Hasn't done much. Mason Rudolph, you mentioned.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the big three, the top 5 will go Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, and Josh Rosen. I think that's probably the best order. You'll have the top 5, and anybody else outside of the first round in that draft class really hasn't made too much of a splash to determine one way or the other. I mean, Kellen Mond, I don't even know if he's played a professional snap yet, to be honest. Mason Rudolph had a run-in with Myles Garrett, and that's about as much screen time as we've seen from him. So, I think that's the order for the top 5 guys in the first round. And I don't know if there's really any other order, to be honest.
What about, Mike White? He was drafted in that class. Remember Mike White was
Was he actually?
Yeah.
Wow, Mike White was a 2018 draft pick. Mike White probably is 6. I mean, 5. Mike White's probably 5. I mean, we've seen more of him in a positive fashion than Josh Rosen. So, I think people are probably giving Mike White
that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, what has Josh Rosen done? Unfortunately, I think he's gotten the short end of the stick throughout his career. But kind of like Mike White, he's shown more flashes in the limited opportunities he's gotten in comparison to Josh Rosen. So hell, I mean, I think Mike White could easily be 5. I didn't know he was 20.
So what do you think needs to be done for Josh Rosen to have the highest potential of success possible?
Josh Rosen's going to need to pretty much the story for Josh Rosen for the rest of his career is going to be basically bouncing his way around and hoping that an opportunity opens up, because he's never going to get another shot at a starting job unless it falls into his lap. He'll probably be at most a second stringer going forward. But hypothetically, if he gets on a team with a quarterback that goes down early in the season, he's going to have to jump on that opportunity and show a little bit of something as a backup stepping in for a starter. But I think that's pretty much the only way he's going to be able to get his foot in the door back in terms of a potential starting role. Josh Rosen will probably be forever a backup journeyman at this point.
All right, probability that Rosen turns it around and becomes a franchise quarterback.
Probability, probably like
out of 100%.
I mean, you got to say, like, we've seen crazier, right? So I don't want to say like 0.0. I'm going to say like 3.5%. Like 3.5%, I think, is probably my ceiling on that. Like,
oh man, my man not giving him a shot in hell. Oh my Lord,
I feel bad for the guy, but
20%. It was said not 0.1.
I don't even know if he's on a team right now, to be honest with you.
Is he? Because I do see the vision, right? I do see his vision. He'll go to a team like a Tampa Bay. Excuse me. With a quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator like Byron Leftwich, obviously the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. You putting yourself in positions to succeed and learn from smart people, right? It goes to Atlanta. You're sitting back next to, I mean, let's be honest, Matt Ryan is one of the best quarterbacks who's ever played. He may be in like the top 30 or whatever, but he's up there. Matt Ryan was very, very good in this league. And you sit behind Matt Ryan, you learn from him, and then you also he was in San Francisco, behind, or not behind, but learning from Kyle Shanahan. And I feel like I think I see what he's trying to do. So it'll be interesting to see if he's actually able to, do it and get it done. But I don't know. I would give Josh Rosen like a 13%. I feel like if he does get a shot and if he gets hot, he has the skill level. He has the talent to build on it. But I just think he's going to need like a dramatic shift in confidence in order to to get it going and to be able to do something like that. Like he's gonna have to have like a Gardner Minshew level confidence to be able to have any success in this league. All right, so next up, who was Sam Darnold was number. We're not gonna talk about Mike White. Sam Darnold would have been number 4, right? So what do you think it'll take for Sam Darnold to potentially be a successful quarterback in this NFL, in this league?
Oh man, Sam Darnold. I mean, we all had so much hope for Sam Darnold once he was locked in as a starter for Carolina going into last season. I was one of, and if I remember correctly, you were as well. Part of the camp that believed that Sam Darnold would turn his career around with Carolina. And really kind of make an impact in a different way than he did over in New York, a more positive one at that. And he started off hot. I think they started off 3-0. And, I think after the Christian McCaffrey injury was when Sam Darnold really, really started to struggle. He didn't have that safety valve in McCaffrey. He didn't have that offensive weapon he was used to. It was pretty much DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. And he was left without anything else. So I think that's where he kind of started to overthink. He started to play very uptight football, and his piss poor decision making started to return. Wasn't making good reads, throwing into coverage, and eventually he not only started to play bad, but he got hurt. So just a complete culmination of piss poor events, just completely avalanched right on Sam Darnold's head. And I think that was probably the best shot he's going to get in a little bit of time here until he potentially sees another job somewhere else as a starter, at least. After the season, I'm not sure where he could end up. I don't know if he'll be with Carolina still, but I could see Sam Darnold kind of having a similar, slightly improved journeyman career in comparison to Josh Rosen. But it'll be tough for him to get another starting look, I think, after last year's.
All right, so probability 1 through 100. What do you think Sam Darnold's probability of being a franchise quarterback is?
It's a bit higher than Josh Rosen, right?
Hopefully.
It should be, at least. I'll probably give Sam Darnold. I'll give him like a 14.5% chance that he could turn his career around. That's my probability for Darnold.
All right, K-Man is a lot harsher on these quarterbacks than I am, which is fair. I mean, hey, gotta have balance, right? Last year, if you would have asked me this question at this time, I would have said like 65%.
Yeah,
right? And he embarrassed me. He did. He made me look stupid, because I was out here saying that the Panthers is stacking up as they getting ready. I was like, they might be Super Bowl contenders in a year or two. And now I look absolutely stupid. I look foolish. They just traded for a 5th round pick for a former number 1 overall pick. Like, that obviously means you don't have a quarterback. If you're able to land a quarterback and you didn't even want to trade for him because you didn't want to pay for his salary, means obviously you're not confident in him, right? So, now they're in a mess, and I don't really know what's going on there. They got like 3 starters potentially, right? They got Cam, they got Sam, and they got Baker.
I don't even know if I don't think Cam's there anymore. The other guy is PJ Walker at the moment.
PJ Walker. Oh, PJ Walker is what if PJ Walker beat both of them?
No way, bro.
That would be hilarious. Oh my God, I would die laughing.
It'd be so embarrassing.
That would be like when Tyrod beat Kyle Orton and EJ Manuel.
I don't know. I think that might even be worse.
No, it's gonna be way worse, but that's the only thing I can think of similarly. But all right, so I would say for Sam Darnold, I'll give him a 23% chance. Because again, same thing. I think he has the talent, and if he's able to actually build something, or maybe iron sharpens iron, and he's up there with Baker in training camp and having a fellow draft mate, up there having to compete with him, maybe that'll bring the confidence in him, and maybe he'll, I think one of the two is gonna elevate from this, right? Because like this is part 2 of your fight, if you will. Like part one was the draft, right? You had to prove to all these people why you're better than the other guy. And remember, Sam Darnold was the first overall pick projected for a long time. And eventually they started moving toward Baker Mayfield, and then it was obvious runaway Baker Mayfield, but it was Sam Darnold for a long time, and they had to duke it out a little bit. So I think this is going to be part two of that, and I think whoever gets the best of the other might come out and have a pretty decent season, just because maybe they'll have a little bit more of a confidence. So we'll see what happens. And to kind of kill two birds with one stone, who do you think actually comes out on top in this training camp battle and becomes the starter for this team?
I think it would really take some sort of catastrophic training camp performance for Baker not to come out on top of it. Like I said earlier, I think, you don't trade for a guy like Baker Mayfield unless you have like the damn near 100% intention of starting him come week one. Because at this point, they already have enough depth in the quarterback room, not talent per se, but definitely depth to have rode it out with what they had if they didn't have the intention of starting Baker Mayfield after they traded him or traded for him, I should say. So I'm going to definitely go with Baker Mayfield. But I as sad as it may be to say, I would not be surprised if Baker Mayfield does struggle in a situation where he's going to have a little bit more weight on his shoulders, change of scenery. He's getting traded halfway through the summer, right? I mean, preseason's a month away. Like, this is going to be a pretty upbeat process for him to go through and get used to after not playing football. For the Cleveland Browns, playing good football, I should say. This is not going to be an easy transition. So I'm rooting for the guy. I'm rooting for him to do well in the NFC South and kind of turn his career around. But I'm not going to sit here and put money on anything. But Baker will come out on top, I think.
Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback of the Panthers for Caveman's money. If I had to bet right now, I would lean Baker too. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. Like, I'm not joking. I legit think that PJ Walker legitimately has a shot. Like, I think PJ Walker's good. Or not good. Like, he's not a good quarterback in terms of NFL. Like, I'm not going to say he's sit up here and say he's like a top 12 quarterback, which is what I would consider good, right? But I think he has potential. I think he has a very, very unique skill set, one that is a little Tyrod Taylor-ish to me. And I think that skill set works if you use it correctly, So I would like to see him go out there and be aggressive. You're going to have two guys in front of you that have absolutely no problem throwing interceptions in practice. All right. They ain't letting it fly. Okay. We've seen from their careers that they have no problem letting it fly. They will throw it into quadruple coverage. All right. So, like PJ Walker, I'm not saying come out here and start throwing it into triple and quadruple coverage, but be more aggressive, and take more shots, take more risks, and, let your talent do the talking because – like, what you got to lose? Like, what's the chances they carry three quarterbacks? Not very high. And if they do, then okay, sure, right? You might have an opportunity, but if they don't, then like you damn near cut off automatically, right? So you might as well go out there and play your heart out, and maybe win the backup job, if not the starting job. So I'm rooting for PJ Walker, but I do think. But then again, if I'm being like you see, it looked like the Panthers locker room is behind Sam Darnold, which is interesting. That throws like an interesting little mix into it. Robbie Anderson had the quote where he was like, we don't want Baker Mayfield, and now they got Baker Mayfield, so that's interesting. There was mutual disinterest between the Panthers and Baker Mayfield, and now they're together. Like first of all, how awkward is that?
I mean, Robbie Anderson, I think there was a press conference today, and Robbie Anderson was getting kind of grilled about it. And he was trying to justify what he said. People are just completely clowning on him because it's like he made it so obvious on multiple occasions that he wanted nothing to do with Baker Mayfield. And now he's getting called out for it because he made or because the deal was made. And he's like, I was just trying to support my current quarterback, blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, dude. If you did it once or twice, then maybe, but there's like a number of Instagram posts where he comments like, no. Like, right. This happened like 3 or 4 times on Robbie Anderson's part. So he's really feeling some certain way, and that could go once again going back on the narrative of Baker Mayfield maybe not turning things around. I mean, Robbie Anderson's a pretty prominent weapon in that offense, so I mean, if they're not on the same page, that can work against Baker Mayfield as well. So, like I said, that's going to be a pretty tough transition, for a guy that wasn't playing great to begin with.
It's also interesting to me though because Baker had no problem not throwing to Odell Beckham Jr. I could see him totally not throwing to Robbie Anderson, so those personal things really do play a big part in sports. And ultimately you hope that your teammates can get along and, just make things work to execute on Sundays. But we've seen it, we've seen the the Eagles with Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb, and that whole debacle with Terrell Owens and Jeff Garcia. There's been situations where quarterbacks and wide receivers, if they don't get along, man, it's not looking good. I mean, we talked about it, Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. But all right, next up on the list, since we already talked about Baker Mayfield, we will jump to who's next, Lamar?
Yes.
Lamar. All right, so first of all, let me ask you this, game, man. Is Lamar Jackson a franchise quarterback?
I think at this point it's kind of hard to say no. I think the question with Lamar Jackson at this point, he's a franchise quarterback. He's going to be their guy for years to come, right? But I think the bigger question, in my mind at least, is can Lamar Jackson win you a Super Bowl? I think that's, the next question. It's like you get a quarterback, you find your quarterback right, and then you're like, he's going to be my guy for the next 8 to 10 years. But can he win you a Super Bowl? And you'd like to think that those questions or those answers go hand in hand, but some guys need a little bit more help than others. But I do think Lamar Jackson is talented, in his own right, to take a team to the Super Bowl. He's had not the most postseason success in his career up to this point, but I think Lamar Jackson's going to take a jump this season. He's going to be on a little bit of a revenge tour. He played hurt last year, didn't play hurt, but he got hurt last season. He was fighting for his life with a bunch of third stringers on both sides of the ball. And that team still went 8-9. And I think he's going to really bounce back this year. The Ravens are going to be a very ferocious team in the AFC. So to answer your question, yes, I do think Lamar Jackson is easily a franchise quarterback.
All right. Here's where we're going to change it up a little bit, right? Because we don't necessarily have to turn anything around. Lamar Jackson is an MVP in this league. And he's put up numbers that no quarterback in NFL history has, through his first 4 seasons. And probably would have been even bigger numbers had he not been injured for the back half of this 4th season, right? So what is the percentage 1 through 100 of Lamar Jackson being a Hall of Famer?
Lamar Jackson's on pace right now to be in the Hall of Fame. I think there's the Hall of Fame is a revolving door. It doesn't really have the tightest of requirements to get in. That's an entirely different conversation. But Lamar Jackson brings, I think by the end of his career, he will bring the production, the statistical side of things to present a strong resume. But he also he brings the uniqueness, that his game provides in the NFL, right? We've never really seen a running quarterback like Lamar Jackson, somebody who's so athletic, play the quarterback position. It's really never been done before to his level. And I don't know if it'll ever be replicated. So not only will I think he have the production aspect, the statistics to back up his career, for the Hall of Fame sake, I think he'll be able to say, by the end of his career, I was a difference maker in a right that nobody else was. And I think that'll be enough to get him in the Hall of Fame, assuming things don't go haywire at some point. So I do think Lamar Jackson has a strong shot to get in. I'm not saying he's guaranteed, but I think Lamar's got a strong shot.
I think that, so when you said that he is on pace to get in, I think that you are absolutely right. And that's an interesting point because I don't think most people would say that, or actually, I do think most people would say that. I just don't think most people know that they would say that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I get that.
because you have to consider that Lamar Jack, what he's done through his first 4 seasons, and obviously the injury, so it's a little different, but the numbers are there. The award is there. Obviously, he won MVP in his first 4 seasons, so he's 25% of his entire career. He's won MVPs. That's pretty good. You know what I mean? So, all right. So we'll move on to Josh Allen now, right? I mean, what can you say about this guy, right? He's the number one quarterback, obviously. So I'm gonna ask. This has got to be a completely new set of questions, right? What do you think that Josh Allen's ceiling is?
Josh Allen has the ceiling to be the most talented quarterback in NFL history. Like, I mean, we're talking about somebody that's already touted as one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks to ever play the game. We were just talking about how Lamar Jackson is one of the most athletic quarterbacks to play in the NFL. Josh Allen is probably in that same conversation, but they just kind of, play the position in a different fashion. But Josh Allen is a physical unicorn, of being a beast that, I think there will be people down the line that start to, come out and play the quarterback position that are equally as physically gifted at some point. But up to this point right now, we've never seen it. He's got arm strength like we've never seen before, with the combination of his mobility, his ability to run through tacklers. I mean, he's really the most well-rounded player. He's almost like a franchise, Madden franchise player. It's like you go into Madden franchise mode and you build your quarterback. Josh Allen is what you come out with. Like, that's how ridiculous the guy is. So he's got that kind of ceiling. It's just a matter of, there's a big difference between the best quarterback or the most talented and the greatest. Like, greatness doesn't necessarily define, the best. I mean, you can easily argue that Tom Brady, he's 100% the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. But that doesn't necessarily mean he's the best, I guess, if that makes sense, because there have been so many more quarterbacks that are more physically dominant with better arm strength. You can argue there have been quarterbacks that are just as smart as he is. It's just he's a great winner, and that's really what defines Tom Brady. So, with that being said, Josh Allen has that top of the line, that ability to be the best quarterback of all time. Whether or not he gets to be in the greatness conversation, I guess, is a different story. But I guess if one might go hand in hand with the other. But he's definitely got that kind of stuff.
What does Josh Allen need to do to be the greatest quarterback of all time? Because I mean, on one hand, real quick, just to kind of preface where I'm going with this question, right? Josh has Tom Brady beat in a lot of areas, right? Tom Brady has Josh beat in a lot of areas as well, though. But Josh is only 4 years in. Tom Brady's 20 years in. So obviously Josh has the capacity to grow and, catch Tom in some of those areas as far as skill set wise. But there are some skill sets that Josh Allen has that Tom Brady will never, ever be able to do in his life, right? So what does Josh Allen have to do to be known as the greatest quarterback of all time, knowing that he already has a leg up talent-wise?
I mean, it's going to be the same thing with really anybody, I guess. They're just going to have to win. They're going to have to win an absurd amount of Super Bowls. Maybe Josh Allen only has to win 4 or 5, and then he's in the conversation, just because of the leg up, as you mentioned, that he has over Tom Brady and the physical aspect of things and what he's been able to do on the field that Tom Brady hasn't. Maybe then 4 or 5 puts Josh Allen in that great conversation. But at the end of the day, it's just, they have to win Super Bowls if they want to be compared to Tom Brady. There's really no way around it. And I don't know if, 7 Super Bowls, man. He's ongoing into his 23rd season. He's got another solid shot at winning an 8th. I mean, it's it's going to be a long road for anybody to try and catch that man.
Do you think there's anybody in the league that can actually do it? And who is that?
It was Patrick Mahomes. I think he was making decent time, but I think choking to the Bengals really set him back. The Kansas City Chiefs did not have to deal with Patrick Mahomes' cap hit prior to 2022, which we're entering now. And we've seen the results of having to deal with that cap hit. They lost Tyreek Hill, which is a major piece in the dynasty they had built up to this point. And not coming out with more than one Super Bowl in that time frame, which is crazy to say is a bad thing given the context of the conversation. But you would have liked to think that they could have came out with at least two if Patrick Mahomes wanted to be on pace. But it might be a while until we see the Kansas City Chiefs in another Super Bowl. So it's Mahomes and Josh, I guess, are pretty much the only two I think that have that opportunity in front of them.
See, it is crazy to think that coming out of that stretch where we thought we were about to witness another dynasty, having them only win one Super Bowl coming out of that is absolutely nuts, right? Because now they have let the door all but shut, right? There's a sliver open, but it's like before there was no door on the hinge. It was just wide open. And now like the door is right there. It's closing, so obviously not only do you have to worry about that dude in Buffalo, that number 17 in Buffalo, now you have to worry about number 10 over in Los Angeles and the squad that he got over there, because he's in your division, right? Derek Carr over in Vegas and the squad that he got over there. Russell Wilson over in Denver and the squad that he has over there. Like it's a big deal now. And of course, Buffalo is your number one contender, the top competitor. I'm sorry, the top contender as far as being the heir to the throne, if you will, right? If Kansas City Chiefs have the throne, things change. As K-Man said, he said it. They got to pay Patrick Mahomes now, and you're starting to see that in places like Tyreek Hill not being able to be with the team anymore. That's huge, because if they had Tyreek Hill, it probably would have been a battle to win the AFC West and come out of the AFC to represent the conference in the Super Bowl. Now it's going to be damn near impossible. Like I can't imagine a game plan that they could use where they totally dominate teams the way that they did before, and now to me they're looking like a 10-11 team win. 9, 10, 11 team, 11 win team. Excuse me. So it's so interesting to see just how far people fall, from grace. And I guess we'll see more about that this year. But Andy Reid, Andy Reid has done this multiple times. It's dark in here, so it's like making me yawn and stuff. But Andy Reid has done this multiple times. Andy Reid, has been to Super Bowl with the Eagles. He's been to Super Bowl with the Chiefs. Before Patrick Mahomes even got there, he had one of the best teams in the NFL and the AFC. Alex Smith was the highest rated quarterback in the NFL. Andy Reid is known as the quarterback whisperer. Like bro is a GOAT, and creating a Patrick Mahomes really just makes him even more of a GOAT. And, he deserves all that recognition. And, you kind of got the sense that when Patrick Mahomes really got going, he was like, wow, I never thought anybody would catch Belichick, but Andy Reid is about to be on his way to catch Belichick. And then out of the 4 years that they had, the 5 years that they had, they only come away with one chip. And you had an opportunity for 5. Yeah, that sucks.
It's crazy to think, like, Mahomes' first season starting, they lose to the Patriots in that where the overtime game where they didn't get a chance to get the ball back.
D Ford don't go outside. They win the game.
Yep. D Ford going. Holy shit, I didn't even remember that part. But yes, D Ford going offside. The following season they win, right? Which they damn near didn't. The 49ers had their number. It took that. What did they call it? Like a B route or something? I don't know what they gave Tyreek Hill. It was like some whack ass corner. It was like a post corner. I don't even know what it was, but I remember that play so vividly, and it was late. It was either early in the fourth or late in the third quarter. That big throw between Mahomes and Hill got them back in the game. So they were not even looking good in that game to win. So they end up pulling that one out. But then the following season, They go and play the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken. They get slaughtered. And then the next year after that, they look like, they struggled at the beginning of the year, but then they go on this rampage and suddenly they're looking like the scariest team in the postseason, beating a Buffalo Bills or beating a Josh Allen and Bills offense, I should say, that looked like one of the greatest shows ever in football history. And still Mahomes is able to, pull it out, and that team is still able to move on. They're up by, 20 plus points against the Bengals at halftime. And you're thinking like, wow, the Chiefs are actually, they're going to do this. And, lo and behold, they choke it. So they really have had, wow, a solid number of opportunities to really put Patrick Mahomes on pace to be in the Tom Brady conversation. I mean, there was that little small chatter, as he was, kind of growing up in the first couple of years, like, oh, GOAT versus young GOAT. I remember hearing those conversations when they would play each other. But now it's going to be it's a far fetched journey for Mahomes, and it's crazy to think about.
Absolutely. I really am interested to see if he'll even get there. Just the competition is really steep now. We'll see if the AFC West teams will be able to keep their rosters intact and stay competitive over the years, because the Chiefs will. Like, we can all just guess the Chiefs are going to stay competitive, but they have too many great players and great coaches and front office people to not be great over the next decade or so. They're going to be right there with us every year, probably. So we'll see if their AFC West contemporaries can, stay the same. And but we do also know that Ballard over in Indianapolis is a beast as well. He's always going to put a good football team on the field. If he could find him a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, it's going to get scary. So we'll see what happens in Indianapolis. But I mean, ultimately, we're sitting pretty in Buffalo.
Yeah,
we got the quarterback, we got the GM, we got the coach. Like,
yeah, there's really no other way. I mean, Josh Allen is, as long as you have the quarterback, you're going to be contending for as long as he's on your roster, and that's why Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs will always be in contention to some capacity because of Patrick Mahomes. It's the same thing with Josh Allen. It's the same thing for a guy like Justin Herbert right now. Same thing with Tom Brady. As long as he keeps playing, it's like there are a select few number of guys, Aaron Rodgers as well. As long as these guys are on your team, you're probably going to be contending for a Super Bowl. And that's what makes those guys, at least in my mind, top tier, best in the NFL, because of their ability to be placed on pretty much any given roster and damn near make them Super Bowl. So I don't think you can really say that about many other quarterbacks.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe. Honestly, if I'm looking at it, I'm saying that you look at that and you say Tom Brady, if the roster is good enough, he could take a decent roster, somewhere. Yeah. He can't take a garbage roster anywhere. He could take a decent roster somewhere. Josh Allen could take just about any roster anywhere, I think. Patrick Mahomes probably could take just about any roster anywhere. Justin Herbert, we've seen him take a decent roster, not to the playoffs. So I don't think he's top 5. Aaron Rodgers, I feel like he could take just about any roster anywhere. He'll choke in the playoffs, but before that, they at least get to the playoffs and they'll have a really competitive football team. Joe Burrow, I definitely don't think he could take any roster anywhere.
Short list.
Listen, man, I am not high on Joe Burrow. I'm not. I'm sorry. I think Lamar Jackson could make a bad team competitive.
I think so too. Definitely. I mean, the Ravens are not an offensively gifted team at all, and Lamar Jackson is the reason why. For the most part, their offense is able to move up and down the football field. So I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think there's a reason, Mark Ingram was an absolute beast in Baltimore and then just was like, where this deal happened. So, but yeah, looking at that is this, and, obviously throughout this episode, we've looked at the 2018 quarterback draft class and, we kind of went through and re-ranked them or, based on their projections going into the future. And with Josh Allen being, the third pick, you have to wonder what the scouting process looks like now, right? And that turns into people like Trey Lance, who, is maybe a project, right? But people don't quite know what he can be or what he's going to be. We're hearing, or at least everything I'm hearing is bad. And if it's not bad, it is somebody that seems like they're pandering. They're like, well, it's not bad. It's like Chris Sims, like he's friends with
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan. So like, of course, he's not going to try to put his friend on blast. But it sounds not promising, right? Which goes to show you that there's only one Josh Allen, right? But the scouting process for quarterbacks has changed, so much. And I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see what the top quarterbacks, look like from now on, because there's obviously an evolution. What I don't know. Like I'm trying to think. Like, is there a possibility? Of course, there's a possibility, but like as a quarterback coming into the NFL, and you look for the player that could be the next Josh Allen, like I really don't know if that's possible. He has such like an extraordinary blend of skill, size, talent, natural talent, and intelligence, you know, uh, and patience and character, that it's absolutely phenomenal. It's crazy to think about and to think that this is the Buffalo Bills quarterback. But yeah, it's wild to think about.
Yeah, I mean, we were a team that could not strike gold at the quarterback position, and we go and find probably the rarest diamond in the entire cave. I mean, it's pretty remarkable how lucky we've gotten. And you kind of spoke to it. It's like there's going to probably be a point where NFL general managers are they're just going to be writing off Josh Allen as the one hit, though not the one hit wonder, but the once in a generational talent. Like you just can't compare these kids on a year to year basis to Josh Allen, because you're going to continuously be disappointed. You're going to be searching and searching and searching for the next Josh Allen, and he's just not going to come. I mean, you're not going to find the next Josh Allen. If there is another Josh Allen, he's going to coincidentally fall into somebody's lap, because Josh Allen was not supposed to be supposed to be Josh Allen in the first place. So, I just don't think there will be a period of time where general managers will stop comparing these young kids to Josh Allen and eventually just, start to scout them in their own right, I guess, is where I'm at. You're muted.
My bad. What sucks if you're every other franchise in the NFL not named the Bills or the Chiefs or like, the Chargers or the Ravens, something like, you know what I mean? Those type of teams, you are put in a weird position because everybody wants the next Josh Allen, right? But people thought Josh Allen was hot garbage the first 2 years of his career.
Yep.
But that's because nobody actually watched him play. They were just going off narratives, right? So now they're actually watching this kid play, and this kid is garbage in front of their face, but they're like, well, Josh Allen was garbage his first 2 years, so
Yeah, I
maybe
know.
we give him more time. But it's like he wasn't garbage. Y'all just thought he was garbage. Y'all weren't watching the games. Like you're going based off the box score and stats and stuff. And I mean, I guess it's fair to a degree, but if you look at the absolute putrid, just nothingness that was around him his rookie year, you couldn't blame him. He was out there by himself on offense. It was him and LaShawn McCoy. That's it. Defense, offensive line, running the ball. And not even that really. Like they weren't even great running offensive line. Josh Allen just scrambled a lot and got a lot of yards doing that. So, watching him grow up before our eyes has been absolutely crazy. So, but yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to get into tonight, K-Man?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. I mean, we covered a pretty important draft class, especially in recent event circumstances because of the move with Baker Mayfield, and it'll definitely be interesting to see how it pans out with him. That's a situation. That's a team that I've kind of considered in the not quarterback away from being a Super Bowl category, but they're I would say a quarterback away from being a very competitive playoff team in the NFC. So if Baker Mayfield's able to go in there, make if not an immediate impact, but a long-term impact, I could see the Carolina Panthers 2 or 3 years definitely competing for 1, 2, or 3 seed in the NFC.
You know what? I'm not against the Panthers. So, they're kind of like obviously there's the Buffalo Carolina connection with Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and everybody else that came from there. So obviously we have some sort of kind of bondish relationship type with them. But I have no reason to root against the Panthers. I actually liked the Panthers at one point, back when Cam was Super Cam. I love the Panthers. I love Cam because the Bills sucked, so I needed an actual good team to root for, and it was Cam. So I have a small affinity in my heart for the Panthers a little bit, and also Steve Smith was really dope. So I wouldn't have any animosity toward the Panthers, and as you guys know, I have animosity towards every single team in the AFC. I don't like none of them if they're not the Buffalo Bills. And I don't like most teams in the NFC. I just don't care about the NFC. It rarely has anything to do with us. So I just let them do them. And I hate Fox. Oh my God, unless they want to pay us. I love y'all. Until then, I can't stand Fox. I can't stand it. It's because it's mostly NFC games that come on Fox. So I have no interest in it. Like, I would much rather be on CBS watching AFC games, even if it's something stupid like the Steelers Patriots. It's just what I'm used to, So yeah, it was a long rambling way of saying nothing. But thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Make sure you go check out this guy, his show, The Cave, over there on his YouTube channel. That's every Tuesday night. And then also my show is every Tuesday night as well. So, double screen, you know what I'm saying? Watch both of them, get in the comment section, you know what I'm saying? So, yes, thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. This is thank you for all your support. You guys know we appreciate every single like, comment, subscription, retweet, share, post, repost, everything you guys do. We appreciate because we appreciate you. That's a fire ending. I'm not gonna lie. I like that.
I dig it. You hit every point.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, cool. So thank you guys. This is the official network of the Original Bills Mafia, and we are out.